So you're running a multi-seven-figure business and you've had a lot of tech people come in and out of your business over the course of years. To the point now where it's a constant string of fires being put out. People sometimes get their emails. Do you know how many people are actually subscribed to your membership? Are they actually paying their dues? What about those group accounts? Is that main person actually paying for the account? And, someone probably knows somewhere, but however, you get a pretty consistent amount of emails coming into support where you notice accounts just here and there that just aren't working. It's what I'd like to call a dumpster fire or a spaghetti mess. And this happens really commonly with businesses that have been in business for 10 years plus. And a lot of people have kind of come in and cobbled things together through duct tape or a number of different means. And now you have this Frankenstein, this dumpster fire. How many analogies can I put into this of a business? And our specialty at Business Tech Ninjas is really untangling these. It's kind of my favorite thing of untangling these messes and figuring out, okay, hey, how do we create a system from this mess that is both dependable, adaptable, and creates an exceptional user experience, both for the internal team members and then also their customers. And doing this time and time again and over years and years, we have a process that we go through that helps to untangle these messes. And I'm going to walk you through that today of like, what does that mean? And then how can you then apply that to your business if you are in this problem right now of running a multi seven-figure business that has this, I like dumpster fire. That's my favorite analogy. And so and I'll be honest, we've gotten this wrong a couple times. And the mistakes and the things that we've learned have created the process that we now use of how to really untangle these systems. And in a best case scenario, there's only one membership or one subscription, but oftentimes in the businesses that we're going into, they have multiple different layers and multiple different levels. They'll have maybe an individual, then they'll have a provider, and then they'll have a corporate, and then they'll have just like one-off courses. And it's like, how do you wrap your head around all of that? And I think the first default thing that people really try to say is, well, it's just the technology. If only we change the technology or the tool, then this would be a lot easier. I have not found that to be the case. Sometimes moving technology or re-platforming can help, but it's not the change of the tool or the change of the platform that really helps. It's that when you're moving house, when you're moving from one house to another, you got to pack up all your stuff and organize it in some sort of way. And similarly, when you're moving from one tool to another, you have to put some level of organization and leave some things behind maybe you didn't need in order to be able to move to this new platform. So the moving of the new platform is not actually what is helpful. What the actual helpful part is that organization portion. So when we're looking at a system like that, and let's just take one example right now, we're working with a client right now that runs a corporate certification. So corporate membership, sorry. So it's like a group account, essentially. You have one person that pays for the account and then multiple people underneath the account that then get access to it. And the way that they were handling how those accounts got connected was like a mishmash, duct tape, how do we figure this out kind of idea. And at first, the way that we approached it was like, okay, this is how it should be done. This is let's think and design this the way that we would if we had complete freedom of like, how does this make the most amount of sense from a technology strategy perspective, and then also from a business perspective. Now, the challenge with doing that is you are throwing out everything that you've learned over the past 10 years about what this is and what those requirements are. So re-looking at that, really the first thing that we need to understand is what are the core things that need to happen within this process and how are they being handled right now? You don't need to go into like a lot of detail with this, but you need to have some level of like an understanding of how it's being handled right now. So using our example of a corporate membership, then it would be, well, how are they buying right now? So they sometimes call in and it's a manual order. Somebody takes that order over the phone. Sometimes they go on the website and they just place an order. Okay. So when those two things happen, what does the internal team then need to do? Well, if they place it on the web, then it means that somebody has to magically know that that order came in. If they do it manually, then they go in and they manually update field A, field B, apply X, Y, and Z tag and do these things. And then once that happens, then they need to then go get their welcome email. Okay, well, where does that welcome email get sent out right now? How does it get sent out? Well, we push a button or we manually add them to a campaign. Like you need to know all of these different details of how it's being done right now because a lot of nuance is lost. And when you don't do this, what happens is that there's just so much detail here that nobody's going to just remember that off the top of your head. You really need to go into formal logical reasoning to really break that down. I love spreadsheets for this, of going in and saying and taking all of those tags and all of those custom fields, and then you put them in a spreadsheet and say, okay, is there anything missing here? And then as you keep going through the process, what I found is that you discover more tags and more custom fields and more nuance that then also needs to get added to the spreadsheet. And you want to walk through the entire process like that. Okay, so what happens now? Okay, what do you do now? What happens now? Well, sometimes this, sometimes that. And then once you get a good picture of like, where are we right now? It will also cast a shadow on like, okay, well, what does this look like from the past too? Because we also need to then look at, they've got like 500 people in that membership right now of, I need to convert those people over to our new system. So I need to see, okay, how do I know who's a child account and who's a parent account with your current system? All right, well, you look for this field and then this tag. Okay, so I looked at this field, but a lot of those people don't have that tag, so there's a mismatch here. So I need to get straight on like the past contact records too to be able to untangle this system, to be able to say, how do I create a better system going forward? And so you walk through that process and try to organize as best you can what they already have to what actually matters. The challenging part of that initial process of going through it is creating too much extraneous detail and putting too much extraneous detail. So you need to really have an eye for understanding of like what's actually important here and not just everything that they tell you. And that does take some time and organization to really be able to know, okay, what matters here, and then applying that to, okay, so how do we organize this past group of people that we already have in this system? And then that, when you have those two pieces of information, you can then take those pieces of information and say, okay, we have a rough idea of how we want to do it in the future. What makes the most sense based on this information that we already have? And I think where a lot of people really mess up that kind of process of why most companies just don't tangle these spaghetti messes like we do is that they don't take the time to organize it. One, they don't walk through the current process. They just say, "Hey, we're gonna build you at this beautiful new home. We don't care about what's happened before." And then it's just like bulldozing all of that information, all of that intellectual knowledge that you've built up over the last 10 years, and then creating this new system. And then by and large, what happens was when they launch that system, if they ever get to the point of launching it, it ends up not meeting the requirements because even if the client does give requirements, there's going to be things lost in nuance that they're just not going to remember or not going to know about, both like just from their knowledge of the system and just memory wise. So then it's gonna fall down when you actually try to launch it. And then additionally, you need to understand how you're going to move all of those current people. How are they going to transition over to this new system? So you need to make sure that that data is clean so that you can cleanly transfer them over to this new system. It is it is not a it's not a quick process, let's just put it that way. But when you actually take the time to go through it and then to really think about what you want this new system to be, this new system should allow you to have dependability, adaptability, and an exceptional user experience, both for your internal team members and then also your customers, to be able to see their different order records. And in order to be able to do that, we need a clean system. But what you can do as a business owner and as a business when you are built on a solid foundation like that is that you can actually see what's happening in your business. How many people are renewing? How many people are dropping off? Where are they at in the process? Like you can actually answer those questions. And then two, like we want to run a new promotion. We want to do this thing. We want to add this new feature into the membership. You're able to be adaptable to be able to do those things. And then not only that, but to be able to do them quicker and then with less error because your systems are clean. The problem that you get to when you are at that multi seven figure mark is that you've been expanding for the last 10 or 15 years. And then nobody's taken the time to contract and clean up your system. So you're now having to go through and clean up house. I like the comparison a lot of moving, of like when you live in a house for 10 or 15 years and you want to pack up all your stuff and move to another house, like it's messy. And you need to appreciate that. But once you get to that new house, you're able to move quicker as a business. You're able to adapt quicker. You're able to provide a better user experience. And with all of the tools and technology we have at our fingertips with AI and so many other things, you want to be an adaptable business that can incorporate those things quickly because otherwise your competitors will be. So it really is that competitive edge to get your foundation straight so that you can, at some point in time, be able to scale and be able to scale with ease. Not only that, but to be able to solve your customer issues quicker. Again, coming back to that exceptional user experience for your end user. But it's a messy process. And it's one that I find really enjoyable. I think I like the untangling, but I like the last part of it, of just seeing those systems run well. And then if we come back to our technologist framework of in those messy systems, you need a technician or a technologist in order to manage those systems. And even then they can't do it very well. When you have a streamlined system, like what we design, then you can have an operator or an admin go in there and maintain those systems and then just escalate issues up, which then in turn brings down your customer service costs over time. And so you are making that upfront investment of how to clean up your systems here, but then the long-term effects are felt for a long time, and that you can decrease that customer service cost and provide a better experience and be a more adaptable business if you take the time and invest in getting your business into a solid foundation. So if you want help with it, I'm Melody at Business Tech Ninjas, and my team of technologists and I would love to untangle your system. Or if you just have some questions about how to tackle this, we're happy to help. Technology can truly fuel your business rather than hold it back, but it's not the tech that's the problem, it's the people behind your tech and the way that they're thinking about it and organizing it and working it through, and that patience to really do that. So thanks for watching and have a great day.